Ho! 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 Hold it! Hold it now.
Ye sons of true freedom and spirit, who firmly your rights would support, may now secure honor by merit and property spite of the court. First sing of our Congress and leaders, then toast all our friends far and near, determined no foreign invader shall with tyrannic power reign here. The blessing of God will attend us, though thousands against us combine. Deserted by those should defend us, our cause to heaven we resign. Then here is success to our forces, true honor and honesty's sons. Our Congress will plan out our courses, we cheerfully take up our guns.
Autumn 1775. And the laws of the king are in force. The war is at a standstill. The British occupy Boston. They've suffered great losses at war, yet their menacing fleet remains without the city, their hostile militia within. Shops are closed. Streets deserted. Food, clothing, fuel, scarce. And in Cambridge, it's worse. The revolutionary forces gather under General Washington's command, but there's little discipline, and the men are poorly armed. Even revolutionary spirit is waning. There must be a decisive military victory. If the British are to be forced to evacuate the city, Dorchester Heights, commanding the harbor, must be seized and fortified. But fortified with what? The colonists have little artillery, and without it, thoughts of victory are idle speculation. So there's nothing to do but wait and hope that someone will devise a plan. That someone was Henry Knox. Knox owned a bookstore and was an eyewitness to the Boston Massacre. 25 years old, 250 pounds, missing 2 fingers from a backfired gun, Henry Knox was the epitome of the self-made colonial man. In 1774, he married 18-year-old Lucy Flucker, who was then disowned by her prominent Tory family. The following spring, Knox volunteered for the Continental Army. A self-educated artillery expert, he co-designed the Roxbury Fort and gained Washington's recognition. Subsequently, Henry Knox devised the plan to transport artillery from New York's Fort Ticonderoga to Boston's Dorchester Heights. It was to be a hazardous 300-mile journey, beginning at the desolate mountain outpost that housed the motley array of arms liberated from the British by Ethan Allen, Benedict Arnold, and the Green Mountain Boys. The artillery would be transported across Lake George, down the Hudson River Valley, over the Hudson, and then across the entire state of Massachusetts. Dragging cannon over roads seldom traveled, up and down treacherous rock-filled trails, and all of this during the bleak, dead winter cold. What was it about Henry Knox that provided the initiative to plan such a trip? Perhaps he himself expressed it best.
I have the most sacred regard for the liberty of my country, and am fully determined to act as far as is in my power in opposition to the present tyranny attempted to be imposed upon it.
Henry Knox journeyed to Fort Ticonderoga. His first task was to select the artillery to be transported. He chose 59 pieces, from 1 to 9 feet in length, from 100 to 5,500 pounds in weight, 4-pound to 24-pound iron and brass cannon, mortars, howitzers, and cohorns, 119,000 pounds in all, to be carried by flat-bottom boat over Lake George and by sled over snow-covered, icy trails to Cambridge. Knox sent a progress report to Washington.
May it please your Excellency, it is not easy to conceive the difficulties we have had in getting the cannon over the lake, owing to the advanced season of the year and contrary winds. But now, please God, they must go. Trusting we shall have a fine fall of snow, which will enable us to proceed and make the carriage easy, I hope in 16 or 17 days' time to be able to present to Your Excellency a noble train of artillery. I am, with the utmost respect, Your Excellency's most obedient, humble servant, H. Knox, Fort George, December 17.
But due to the lack of snow and transport vehicles, Knox was delayed. At last, 164 men, 248 horses, and 82 sleds arrived at Fort George. It was December 31st, 1775. January 1st, 1776. The journey was to take only 16 or 17 days. No one ever imagined that it would take 40 days in the wilderness, haunted by blizzards, breakdowns, and bitter cold. Upon embarking, Knox wrote to his wife Lucy.
My dearest companion, it is with the greatest anxiety that I am forced to date my letter at this distance from my love, and at a time when I thought to be happily in her arms. We shall cut no small figure going through the county with our cannon, mortars, etc. It makes me smile to think how I will look, like a tennis ball bowled down the steep. May he who holds the hearts of all flesh in his hands incline America to put their sole confidence in him. And may he give special directions to your guardian angel concerning you. Adieu, my only love. For the present, adieu.
A few days later, Knox wrote in his journal,
January 5th. Ran down alongside the Mohawk River until we came to the falls, so famous in this part of the continent and known by the name of Cohoes. It is the most superb and affecting sight I ever saw. The falls look like one vast torrent of milk pouring from a stupendous height. I was told that in summertime a perpetual rainbow was to be seen here. After having gazed and wondered for a long time, I returned from admiring the stupendous works of nature, and not a little humbled by thoughts of my own insignificance.
Knox reached the Hudson River on the 7th of January, and the crossing began. Successful, until the last sled broke through the ice. The delay itself was less serious than the prospect of losing even one precious cannon. It was only with the help of the people of Albany that the artillery was saved. In gratitude, Henry Knox christened the cannon the Albany. With the river behind them, Knox and his men rapidly approached Massachusetts, and with the help of local Indians, he and his companions began the Berkshire climb. Pushing, pulling, dragging 119,000 pounds of artillery through Alford to Egremont, Great Barrington, and at last to Monterey. Knox wrote,
January 10th. Reached number 1. After having climbed mountains from which we might almost have seen all the kingdoms of the earth.
But there was little time to contemplate the land's beauty. General Washington was waiting. And so Knox and his men moved on, over mountains, across valleys, fording icy streams, clearing roads through the greenwoods, in order to allow the bulky artillery through, dragging, tugging, cursing their way to Otis, and then on to Blandford.
January 11th. At Blandford, we overtook the 1st Division, who had tarried here until we came up, and refused going any further on account that there was no snow beyond 5 or 6 miles further, in which space there was the tremendous Glasgow or Westfield Mountain to go down. But after about 3 hours' persuasion, I hiring 2 teams of oxen, they agreed to go.
Utah! Yes, sir! Sam!
Whoa!
Now, you want to go with some rope?
We're in the right place right now.
Huh?
We're in the right place right now. There's your tree to wrap it around.
Go around a tree.
All right. Want to go around this one?
In the ring?
So you go around
In
the
the
tree
ring.
first.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
You
He
can
said
get
no.
at the ring.
Once more. Once more around the
Once
tree.
more?
Yeah, once more. Once more. Like that. Now give it to me on the sled. Go on me, will you?
Now everybody wants to watch. They don't get a foot or a hand in a snarl in the rope.
That's right. Ready?
Ready.
Go on easy. Go on easy. How much rope you got left?
10 feet.
Let her run right through then. All clear? Go on. Easy now. Easy. Go ahead, Duke. Duke.
You're on your own.
Duke.
Once down the Devil's Staircase, the most perilous part of the journey was completed. Knox left the Berkshires behind. At last, he and his weary men arrived in Westfield. They received such a warm welcome that Knox placed a charge in his largest cannon, one he jokingly nicknamed the Old Sow, and delighted the townspeople in the overflowing tavern with a fantastic salute. The explosion bellowed deeply throughout the mountain valley, the reverberation of not one cannon, but of one people fighting for their liberation. January 15th. A significant part of the journey had ended. However, sledding conditions were poor. The lack of snow was so discouraging that the New York drovers resolved to go home. Not even Knox himself could convince them to continue to Cambridge. Seeing his precious cargo sinking in the mud, Knox hired fresh teams in Springfield and released the New Yorkers. Now it was up to Massachusetts militia and the patriotic spirit of the citizenry. Luckily, the ground froze, and the cannon moved on through Wilbraham, Palmer, Munson, and Brimfield, and on to Warren, Brookfield, Spencer, Leicester, and Worcester. At last, on January 24th, 1776, the noble train of artillery arrived in Framingham, Massachusetts. Shortly afterwards, Henry Knox rode to Cambridge and triumphantly reported to General Washington. On March 2nd, the bombing of Boston began.
The house shakes with the roar of cannon fired upon poor Boston from Leechmere's Point, Cobble Hill, and Roxbury. I saw mortars carried over to the point. Battle is resolved upon. What tells a plainer story? 2,000 bandages are in readiness. The British return the fire. March 4th. 2,000 men are marching to Dorchester Heights to take possession. General Washington has been as anxious as any to attack Boston and dislodge the British troops. March 5th. Today is the 6th anniversary of the Boston Massacre. Washington has inflamed our men. Remember, it is a day never to be forgotten. Avenge the death of your brethren.
The siege of Boston ends. When surrounded by an array of cannon during a fierce March storm, the British are forced to evacuate. It is General Washington's first major victory. Now the other colonies join the fight. 3 months later, they sign the Declaration of Independence.
March 17th. Boston is ours. Boston is free at last. Free at last.
In the years that followed, Knox remained a close friend and aide to General Washington. Henry Knox had proven his initiative. He had proven his endurance. And most importantly, he had proven his loyalty to the Revolution. Henry Knox was named Colonel of the Continental Regiment of Artillery. Later, he advised Washington to establish the first United States arsenal at Springfield, Massachusetts. On December 27, 1776, the day after the Battle of Trenton, Henry Knox was commissioned Brigadier General. He wrote to his wife,
The attack of Trenton was a most horrid scene to the poor inhabitants. War, my Lucy, is not a humane trade, and the man who follows it as such will meet with his proper demerits in another world.
On March 8, 1785, Henry Knox was named the first United States Secretary of War. Once a self-educated Boston bookseller, now the first Secretary of War for a new nation, the United States of America.